For our work today, we're going to create a 1-inch grid that covers this whole piece of paper. This is going to be our drawing surface. I'm working horizontally so that we can see my whole piece of paper on the camera. And so I'm going to ask that you work in the same way. I'm using an HB pencil today because we want our marks to be accurate but light. Okay, so 1 inch, everywhere that there's a numerical indicator, there's a long hash mark. This is the same on your plastic rulers as well. And that's how we're gonna start today. When you draw today, I want you to draw very lightly. I'm gonna draw a little darker so that you can see what I'm drawing, but I want you to draw very lightly because we'll have to erase this grid. I'm starting by lining my ruler up on the left-hand side of my piece of paper, and I'm gonna make a small mark every inch. Keep your measurements small and accurate. Okay, all the way through the 17-inch mark. And now we're going to come up here to the top of the paper. And I'm going to repeat that process. Notice I have not moved my paper. I'm moving my ruler instead. We always want to measure from the same end of the paper. Once I have the second set of measurements drawn, I'm going to use both sets of measurements to draw my lines. Okay, so I've got 2 sets of dots. I'm going to line those dots up, hold my ruler down firmly, and draw lightly. Now, again, I'm going to draw a little darker than I want you to, so that you can actually see my lines on the camera. You should make your lines very light. How light should they be? Well, I'll show you an example. Okay, you can barely see that, but that's about how light I want your lines to be. Visible, but easily erased. Okay, I'm gonna zoom through this. Okay, so we've got that set of lines drawn. Now what we're going to do is make a measurement along this line and a measurement along this line. Now if you're using a plastic ruler because you're at home, you'll need to make these measurements a little closer to each other. So let's start with this one though. We can all do this. So along my rightmost line, I'm making a mark every 1 inch as I come down vertically. We're making a 1-inch grid. A grid is kind of like a checkerboard. Okay, it's a series of squares that are all the same size. Now, this will work for long rulers or short rulers. Let's come towards the middle of our paper and make another set of measurements along another one of our vertical lines. Your plastic ruler is not long enough to stretch the whole width of the paper, and so you're going to have to draw part of the line, slide your ruler down, line it up with what you've already drawn, and continue that line. Okay, let's start here. Lining up my 2 dots and tracing. I'll do a couple of these with the metal ruler, and then I'll show you how to do it with the plastic ruler. Okay, so you can see that what we're forming are these squares. Now, if I'm doing this with the plastic ruler, I'm going to begin by lining up my 2 dots, and then I'm going to slide the ruler down, make sure it's lined up really well with the line I've already drawn, and finish it off. This takes care and attention to detail, but it's very doable. If you would like, you could make another set of measurements here, like this. And the benefit there is that I can start by making this set of dots, or this set of lines, and then slide my ruler down so it's lined up with that new dot, and finish it off. You can go in either direction here. Our goal here is to have an accurate grid, so whatever it takes to do that, that's what we're going to do. All right. Now we're almost to our last step. Once I have the grid drawn, once I have this grid drawn, we're going to turn this vertically now because for most of you, your portraits are vertical. And along the top, we're going to make alphabetical markings, and then along this left-hand side, we'll make numerical. So let's begin up here in our first corner in the upper left. This is going to be A, and we'll work our way to the right. Okay, you should be able to get all the way over to L. Now, along this left-hand side, we are going to begin in the upper left once again. This is number 1. So our A1 square is the upper left square. And now we work our way down. And we should end at 18. Okay, so your bottom left corner should be 18. Your top right should be L. And that's how we mark that off. We'll continue with your photograph and do it exactly in the same way using a grid that is half the size.